Hey guys, just give me one sec. I'm about to start the live recording of my podcast just now. And we're live. Hi everybody. Uh Welcome to the Feyenoord podcast. I'm Bonisile Intlameza, your host. And I will be talking a bit about upcoming game between Arsenal and West Ham, but also focusing on how the Europa League games as well as the Europa Conference League games that took place today will affect these top four race, which is a race that has really made liars out of all of us, to be honest. Um, I think the the top four race has had a different favorite for different times of the season. I think for the first half of the season, for sure, people thought maybe West Ham, Arsenal was outsiders, but definitely at the beginning of the season, Tottenham seemed on for it. I remember after that first international break, they were the favorites to be in the top four. Some people were even talking about them winning the league. And now no one is even talking about them winning, um, any trophy at all, which is, I guess, the norm for them for the last, I would say, couple like 3 4 decades. But I think, yeah, Arsenal played a couple of really interesting games. In the Chelsea versus Arsenal at Stamford Bridge, and then Arsenal at home against Man United. Scoring 7 goals from 28 shots attempted, and 7 goals in 2 games, having only scored 2 goals in the previous 5 games. So who's to say what Arsenal will do this weekend? But today I want to focus on basically the West Ham game, but also more importantly, focus on like what can Arteta do, and what are some of the things that could happen that would be costly. Um, but I must say, I'm no prediction monster. I'm just out here thinking aloud with fellow supporters of Arsenal, and then also just talking about what are some of the things that I saw today in the Europa Conference as well as the Europa League. First game is the that caught my attention is the game between Feyenoord and Marseille, because there were Arsenal players involved in that game. Two for Marseille, Guendouzi and Saliba. They were playing against Feyenoord, who are Rhys Nelson's loan club this season in the Netherlands. They were playing in the Netherlands, and Feyenoord took an early 2 goal lead. We went up 2-0, and then Marseille made it 2-2, and then Feyenoord got the winning goal eventually late in the second half. Late in the game during the second half, and it's finished 3-2 to Feyenoord. But Reese got himself an assist. Guendouzi, I wouldn't call his cross for the second goal and for one of the goals an assist, but he's involved in the build-up play, um, and he's involved in the play leading up to both goals actually. So he's having himself quite a season at Marseille, and it looks like he will be staying there because they have an option on him, and I don't think Arteta wants him back, and I don't think he wants to go back to Arsenal. Now, Saliba, every time basically he plays for Marseille, he puts on a solid, dependable performance at the back. Even though today they conceded 2 goals, I don't think he was at fault for either of the goals. Reese assisted for the second goal, and he's been playing a lot of minutes actually from late January into February until now. He's been playing in almost all of their knockout games. He's been starting actually on the right wing for them, which is a very interesting position because I thought Reese. I mean, I know he'd played on the right for Arsenal as well, but I thought he would be more of a left-sided player cutting inside and and working on playing from that side, because I think Arsenal would definitely be, he would be a very interesting option from the bench next year if he was to stay. But I don't know what's going to happen with him. So that one, that game is, it was all about Arsenal. And then the other game that took place today was the Premier League match between Chelsea and Manchester United. That one, I think the 1-1 draw was a perfect result for both Arsenal and Tottenham, because I don't think either Tottenham or Arsenal are catching Chelsea. But if there was ever going to be a chance of them doing that, they would need to win their games, and Chelsea would need to drop some points somewhere. And them dropping points at Old Trafford while also not letting Manchester United win is probably the most acceptable result, because Manchester United winning and then Arsenal and Tottenham dropping points in the next 4 or 5 games, or whatever it is that you say, they both have 5 games left. United now has 3 games, and both Arsenal and Tottenham have, you know, an advantage over Manchester United with 2 games in hand as well. Now, nothing is impossible in the world of football. Manchester United are not totally out of the Champions League mathematically, but based on the way they're playing right now, it will be hard for me to see them making it. This game of football has obviously, like I said, made idiots out of a lot smarter men than myself. And I'm not going to tempt the football gods and say Manchester United are out of top four, but it does look highly unlikely at this point that they will make the top four. And West Ham have, a preoccupation of their own, which is the other team that I don't think is out of the top four, but I think them being preoccupied with the Europa League, which they actually have a very good chance of winning the competition. They played today and lost to Eintracht Frankfurt. And the German team will go home after having knocked out Barcelona in the previous round. They will like their chances of beating West Ham, or at least not losing to West Ham in Germany. However, I think West Ham have a very good chance of winning the Europa League and be in the Champions League that way next year, because there's no clear favorite team of the teams that remain in the Europa League. If West Ham was playing Barcelona, I might have said maybe Barca would be favorites, but who was to say? Who would have known? Speaking of this game making us look like idiots, who would have known that Barcelona were going to get knocked out by Eintracht Frankfurt convincingly in the previous round? So West Ham can go to Germany and cause chaos and be their strong selves. But how does that affect the way they then play their game against Arsenal? I don't know what David Moyes will do, but he does like a small squad, and he does like to keep a consistency in his selections. They don't have a lot of fit centre backs. Kurt Zuma played today, so he's back. But they lost another centre back last time when they played Chelsea. They lost the guy who scores a lot of headers. What's his name? Dawson. They lost Craig Dawson in a very late penalty situation against Chelsea, as he tried to drag Lukaku back. He conceded a penalty, which was saved, but the VAR told the referee to go check out and upgrade the yellow card to a red. So the red card was given to Craig Dawson, who is a problem for West Ham in terms of their offensive set pieces. He creates problems for the opposition, I should say. So with that said, I don't have a clue what David Moyes is going to do. He might play Declan Rice at center back, but should he do that? That's the other thing. And there's something that I think he should do, not because I'm an Arsenal fan, but there's something that I think he might do. I think he will probably still try to give some continuity to his spine of the team. You know, Rice, Suchek, maybe give them an hour of the game, or maybe bringing them on off the bench. For this for like 30 minutes in the second half or something like that to keep them involved. But it would be a high risk move for them to do that, knowing that they have to go to Germany and overcome a deficit in the second leg of their Europa League semifinal. Champions League on the line here for them. So I I I find it very difficult to predict what they will do. However, I have some opinions about what I think Arsenal should do, regardless of what West Ham do. But before I talk about that, I think I should talk a little bit about Leicester, who drew against Mourinho's Roma um, today, and they were playing at home, Leicester. So I think they should have probably, I mean, they did well to come back, I guess, from 1-0 down, but to not win the game is probably something that they will find regrettable going to Italy, because Roma will be a tough challenge at home. Mourinho has been playing with the back three for most of the season, 3-4-2-1 or 3-5-2, and surprisingly, even though they rushed us into loaning them Ainsley Maitland-Niles, he hasn't been using him a whole lot in his Serie A games. He's been using him sparingly in these Europa Conference games, and Mourinho will want to win this competition. So he might do something like try to score a goal early and then protect the lead in Italy. But I wouldn't count Leicester out. I think it's on that three European competitions could all be won by English clubs. I think there's a possibility that Leicester goes to Italy and wins out, and then whoever wins out between Leicester and Roma, I think will be favored in the final against the winner of Feyenoord and Marseille game. I think Marseille would probably, even though they are down a goal, I think they would be my pick to win that tie. And then a final is just one off. Anything could happen. I do think though Leicester could win the entire conference league, and I think it's still on for West Ham to make a comeback and upset in the final, even because the other semifinalists, RB Leipzig, who are struggling at the moment, at least in this moment of the tie against Rangers, and they have to go to Glasgow and win there. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see, like, because Rangers played really well today and lost narrowly, by one goal, and they lost 1-0. So that should be a fascinating, second leg round. For none of these ties are over. All the teams that won today won by a single goal. 3-2 Feyenoord winning against Marseille. West Ham lost 2-1 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Leicester drew in their first leg, and then the other winner was RB Leipzig 1-0, beating Rangers. So all of these ties are alive, and then that means then it affects the top four games against Arsenal and Tottenham, actually, because both Leicester and West Ham are playing Arsenal and Spurs. Leicester have to travel to London and play, so all of these games will be played in London on Sunday. And focusing a little bit more on the Arsenal West Ham game, I think the Hammers will have their selection issues, and they will have to make up their mind as to what they want to do. But I think Arsenal, in my opinion, should stick with with Eddie Nketiah up front, and this would be a game where I think, if you want to be a little bit safe at the back with Tomiyasu and not push him too far, like you then that's for me. Those for me would be the key players here, like Tomiyasu playing in, and then at right back for Cedric, and then and Eddie Nketiah is keeping his place up front. And then the other thing that I think, especially with Saka being, a doubt for the last game and then playing in the number of minutes that he did in order to win us the game, I would give Pepe a chance instead, in place of Saka. And then on the left side, I think Smith Rowe has had a week to rest. I would keep him in the game. So you would then have Eddie and Eddie in the middle, Odegaard behind, um, Emil Smith Rowe on the left, and Pepe on the right. So it'll be a new right hand side with Tomiyasu being a more conservative right back. Um, and then I would keep the same back four besides Cedric that started last week. So that for me would be the change, and then Saka. Those would be the two changes that just change the right side of the team, and everything else leave it as it was. Um, but then I think Arteta would need to be very, very smart, because Emil Smith Rowe and Tomiyasu might struggle playing 90 minutes at high tempo. In which case, um, I think he should look to play with Lacazette. Maybe 30 minutes of Lacazette up front, and instead of you know losing Eddie, I would keep him with Lacazette. So like rest Odegaard. You know, if especially depending on game state, right? Like if the game is Arsenal still tight and Arsenal still need to score another goal or need to protect a goal, I would replace Odegaard with Lacazette, like we did when we played 4-1 at the beginning of the season, where Lacazette was playing behind Aubameyang and Odegaard was actually sitting on the bench. When we played 4-4-1-1 with Nuno on the left back, and Tomiyasu was available at the time, and then we were playing 4-4-1-1 with Martinelli out left, or is Emil Smith Rowe out left, and Bukayo Saka out on the right, and then Laka and Alba. So like basically, I would play Eddie in the Alba role and Lacazette in the kind of 10, and then Emil Smith Rowe replaced with Martinelli. To me, that's the way I think Arteta should do it. Like keep the team the same, just change the right from the beginning. Um, Not because I think we should underestimate West Ham, but because I think there are going to be games that are going to be just as hard, if not harder, against teams that will be equally rested against us. And I think Saka, if anybody has earned a half of a football badge off, is him. I know he's the leading goal scorer with him and Emil Smith Rowe, our leading goal scorers in the club right now. But I worry about running him into the ground and not having him available for those last 3 games even. And I don't think West Ham is going to be easy, so he can be on the bench. But I think if we're ever going to use Pepe, I would rather use him at West Ham. He does have a good record against them, and it would be a safe enough space to have Tomiyasu behind him, and then we would have the two old men in the middle, in Xhaka and Lenny. So for me, I think the 4-4-1-1, but not from the beginning, maybe, or 4-2-3-1, whatever, with Laka in the 10 rather than the top man, because we do need Lacazette. He's an old head, wise head, and as a two, he actually does okay when there's another striker next to him. Um, that's the other way, because otherwise you are always rotating, um, you know, Odegaard and Smith Rowe in the 10, which Smith Rowe hasn't played in the 10 for a while. And I think Odegaard is another player who we want fresh for his pressing abilities, for his leadership as a technical leader in the team, as well as just keeping him fresh and then keeping the squad rotating and people involved. Because Lacazette wasn't dropped, he just got COVID. And if he's playing behind Eddie, I think that there's still gold threat in that front line. If you have Pepe or Saka on the right, and then um, Martinelli or Smith Rowe over there. So you're using, you're basically strengthening your spine but in a different way. He's more of a goal threat than Odegaard, Lacazette, no matter what he has become as a striker. So for me, that would be, my lineup: Ramsdale in goal, Tomiyasu and right back, Gabriel and Ben White at center back, Nuno Tavares at left back, with Emil Smith Rowe in front of him, because those two play well together. And then I would have El Neni and Xhaka in midfield. And then on the right hand side, it would be Pepe. Um, Purely because of the Shaka's, the Bukayo Saka concern last week, and how he left the game. I mean, I know Mikel won't do it. Mikel will play Saka. If Saka can, walk to the toilet, Mikel will play him ahead of Pepe. But I don't know. I don't have all the data statistics that they have, and I don't have the medical team in my ear. The cautious part of me wants to protect Saka, even though I think Saka himself would want to play. I think then yes. So then up top would be Eddie with Odegaard from the start, and then with Lacazette to come in maybe after 65 minutes or 70 minutes for Odegaard, in the Odegaard role, but playing it Lacazette style. I'm interested to hear what you guys think about that as a potential solution. Um, Please write it in the comment section and share what your ideas are, what your lineups would be. But that's mine. I would keep it as it was against Manchester United from the start, and only change Cedric, in for Tommy, and then Saka for Pepe. Then you have Saka on the bench. That's a really good bench. Saka, Martinelli, Lacazette, and then with a whole lot of youngsters and holding there. So yeah, I just think West Ham are not going to be an easy outing, because no David Moyes teams really are easy outings. I think they're going to be committed, but because we don't know what they're going to do, we can't take for granted that it's going to be an easy game. And I think you want to play some hungry players who haven't had a chance to prove anything. And this, if you're going to be playing Pepe in this run in, this would be a good opportunity, because after that it's going to be Leeds. That's going to be more of a you know difficult game, because Leeds have a lot to fight for. And then you're going to have again another game against Tottenham before you have to go away to Newcastle, and then you're at home to Everton. So the only two teams that don't have a whole lot to fight for, Newcastle are playing for pride and they're playing really well at home. So they'll be up for a game against Arsenal, right? But like West Ham are probably, in my opinion, like if I have to project what I think will happen at West Ham this week, I think their eyes. I don't think they're going to give in and give up the Premier League game. However, I think they do have a much bigger fish to fry in Germany next week on Thursday, and that I think will make this game the least important for them in this week. Whereas every other game we will play will be a very important game for that club for that week. Tottenham are going to be wanting to put us, you know, behind them. They're going to want to win in that game. We haven't won their new stadium, and they're gonna want to get things right, and they're gonna be wanting top four in play instead of us. So I think that's gonna be a tough game. You need Saka for that game. And if Saka then gets injured or whatever, at least you've given Pepe an hour of football, and you have a lot of players who you can call on. Just like we've had to call on Eddie and we've had to call on El Neni, who have made themselves very important to this Arsenal team in the last week and a half. And now I'm not even blinking when I say they should have their place in the starting 11. So I think that for me is how I think these Europa League games are going to affect um, the lineups. Like I think Arsenal absolutely have to win their game because I think Tottenham will most likely beat um, Leicester, who also have to go to Italy next week and get a win there. And I think both Leicester and West Ham are very capable of going through to the finals of those competitions. But I think they're not dumb. They will protect their best players for these two games. And I'm not saying that because it's wishful thinking. I think it's just the prudent thing. I think it's the expedient thing to do, and that's what I would want Arsenal to do as well. If I'm being honest, if they were in the, I mean, maybe not for the Conference League, but like if Arsenal was in the league positions that those two teams are in, and then they had a European semifinal 4 to 5 days later, I would say yeah, play Miguel Aziz, play Charlie Patino, play all the kids, rep everybody who's important in cotton wool, and we go again on Thursday. So with that in mind, I think Tottenham will be motivated because they've just dropped points in their last two games, and I don't think Leicester would be easy an outing for them. But I think Tottenham's motivation and their they will be. I think they will be willed through that game and into a win by their home fans. And if they don't, then I'll be surprised, like really surprised, because they do have some snipers up front, and as we've seen today, Chelsea played a very good game against Manchester United, but Manchester United have a sniper, and he got them a draw. You know, against Brentford, Tottenham could have lost that game. The number of chances Brentford created against them, but Brentford couldn't finish. I mean, I know that Ivan Toney got agonizingly close with one of his attempts, but Harry Kane was still there at the end of the game, almost stealing the whole game in favor of Tottenham. So these are the kinds of things when you have players like that who have done it, and done it and done it. These are the kinds of things that you can bank on that, they will at some point come through. And so I hope I hope that Arsenal will win against West Ham, and I'm confident that because we normally do well against West Ham. I'm confident that we won't embarrass ourselves, but I do think a draw won't be enough. Um, I guess a draw could be fine, but because Tottenham would then have the same points as us if they won, but then they have a better goal difference. A draw is not a disaster, but don't lose this game. Okay, I think I I've said what I think Mikel should do. I know that he's a stubborn man. He'll probably do his own thing anyway. Probably play the very same team he played against Manchester United. Um, he loves a consistent selection, and I don't blame him for it. He's done a really good coaching job at Arsenal this year, and whatever he goes with, I will obviously support the team and get behind it. But you've heard my thoughts. I'm interested to hear yours. I will stop there. You guys have yourselves a really good weekend, and we'll talk to you after Arsenal have played against West Ham in the post-match um, podcast. All right, guys. Cheers.